The woman accidentally got pregnant, but was cruelly abandoned by her boyfriend. With nowhere else to go, she turned to her trusted teacher Jack, and although Jack agreed to help Kimiko, as an exchange, she needed to take a boy to a designated place without thinking much. Kimiko simply did as told, but she had no idea. The man before her was secretly a murderer. He often lured people into a warehouse, then recorded videos, to blackmail ransom from their parents, and once the money arrived, he would cruelly kill them. Soon the boy's body was discovered by the police. Since the only witness had seen Kimiko, she became Jack's perfect scapegoat. On the day she was arrested, the victim's parents cursed and struck her with their fists. But what made her feel the most despair was seeing Jack from a distant hillside, holding her newborn daughter in his arms. Helplessly, Kimiko could only confess to the crime. After enduring 13 years in prison, Kimiko walked out with a blank expression, and the very first thing she did was find the parents of the murdered boy. She confessed the truth of what had happened back then atoned in her own way, until they told her to stop, and she was sent to the hospital. After being discharged, Kimiko began her revenge plan. She found a former cellmate she once helped, and asked her to build a gun according to her blueprint. Meanwhile, Jack was working as a teacher in a kindergarten, a gentle teacher with children by day, but at night he would go home and beat his wife, unaware that she too was Kimiko's former cellmate. Because Kimiko once helped her in prison, she agreed to become Kimiko's inside agent. That day, after Jack vented his anger, he sat at the table to eat dinner, but after only a few bites he collapsed. Onto the table, it turned out his wife had drugged the food long ago. Then Kimiko opened the door. They tied up the unconscious Jack, and dragged him to an abandoned school. Looking at Jack strapped to the chair, the chance for revenge was right in front of her. This was the moment Kimiko had waited for 13 years. But when she finally raised the gun at him, she hesitated unexpectedly. Just as she was about to give up, she accidentally saw a string of toys on Jack's phone, and the marble at the bottom was the keepsake of the murdered boy years ago. At that moment she realized there were more victims. The two immediately returned to Jack's house. After searching the entire study, they finally uncovered rows of videotapes. Watching the cruel scenes recorded on them, Kimiko decided to throw Jack a grand revenge banquet. Then she contacted all the victims' parents, and summoned them to the abandoned school. Watching the children crying on the screen, the parents could no longer suppress their anger, and unanimously decided to take revenge themselves. They put on disposable raincoats, each prepared their own tools, and finally drew lots to decide the order of action. When the first parent entered the room, Jack showed no remorse at all, still desperately trying to find excuses for himself. But it was already far too late. As the door kept opening and closing, the last parent picked up the toy left by his granddaughter, and calmly ended Jack's life. Afterward, the parents took a group photo as a pact, to prevent anyone from regretting and calling the police. Then they buried Jack deep in the mountains. At last, this revenge that had lasted more than 10 years came to an end.